Good morning, guys. I've got a request to make a rubber band powered car. I've been doing those on my separate channel, put a rubber band on it. So I'll probably do something on my main channel, but the main build will be on my other channel, put a rubber band on it. What is it? Can you see the date up there? Oh, my head's in the way. It's New Year's Eve, 31st of December. Now the newspapers were saying it was going to be a hot day today. Bearing in mind we're in the UK and it's supposed to be winter time. Well, it's not that hot. It's no direct sunlight. All my solar rockers are going. And that thermometer thing, the temperature is the one that's dropped to the bottom. Well, none of them have dropped to the bottom, and the lowest one there is 18 degrees, so it's less than 18, which would be pretty hot anyway for us. I should think it's around about 10 out there at the moment, 10 or 12. So, the Sun newspaper was wrong. They said it was going to be extra hot. Right, back to the task in hand. Ashad Ali wants a rubber band powered car made from a pencil, rubber band, cardboard or thermopore sheet flat surfaced, bottle caps, CDs and a hot glue gun. Okay, first thing I'll point out is it says a pencil, not two pencils, a pencil. So I've got a pencil there. I could cut it in half to make two axles, but I'm not going to. I'm going to make it a one axle, two wheel car. So it's just going to have wheels at the front or the back, depending on which way it goes. It's the day after we do our recycling, so all my cardboard and that's gone. There's this little bit left that's left in the garage, so I'll cut that. I'll cut a strip out of that for the body. I'll cut a couple of pieces to go up at either end for the axle bearings, for the axle to go through. I do have some bottle caps, but the chassis can have to be quite narrow, because if you start putting bottle caps on there with the CD in the middle, you actually haven't got very much room left for the bodywork. That's going to be a bit narrow. I prefer my cars to be a little bit wider than that. And you might just about be able to do it. So I'll have to measure up how much space I've got left in the middle there for the width of the car. So I'm not going to give you any dimensions. It will depend on the size of your pencil, really. Oh, and it also just says rubber band, so I assume that's only one rubber band that we can use. But as usual, it doesn't give you the size of the rubber band, so I could use a really big rubber band. I'll just see what I've got. I've got some fairly small ones, so I think we're just going to go with a small one and just see how far we can go with one small rubber band. I'll put the camera on the tripod and we'll get going. Right, first thing I'll do is just work out how long I can, or how big I can make the chassis. I can make it about 10 centimetres wide from the looks of it. Okay. I'm going to make it as long as I can. All my good tools are up in the workroom, all tidied away because we tidied up for Christmas. So I'm just using what I've got laying around. So this is not my sharpest knife. We don't need the cardboard to be as thick as this just happens to be what I've got. And ideally you'd have the grain going that way, not across that way, because this way it's going to be weaker than it should be. But for what we're doing, it'll probably be okay. Right, so that's our body. So say, this is the weak way to do it with the grain going across there. If you push on it, it'll fold up, which we don't want to do. Right, next we're going to need to put some pieces sticking up this way for the axles to go through. Just cut some more of this out. I know you can't see what I'm doing because it's behind the cardboard. Right. just use the width of the ruler. What I'm going to do is glue them up like this so we can put holes in them for the axle to go through. Right, this has got to be a good loose fit, so being as tight as that is no good at all. You're going to have to open it up. Now, he's only said we can use hot glue. If we had a choice, I'd probably use super glue now. Because it's quick and simple. Yeah, you want to make sure that's really loose in there. I'm going to glue them on there. Like I say, I'd probably use super glue nowadays. I tend to do that more often than hot glue. It might be an idea to put that through there so you can try and keep it straight. I'll put the hot glue gun on. While we're waiting for the hot glue gun to warm up, just have a look at these bottle caps. Now, some of the ones you get, they've actually got a little dimple in the middle so you can tell where the middle is. Like that one, it's got a dimple right in the middle. The rest of these don't, but that's probably not a big problem. If you just guess the middle. Because when we actually glue these in place onto the CDs or DVDs, we can adjust the position while the glue is still hot. And I said CDs or DVDs because I don't have any CDs handy at the moment, but I have got these old free DVDs. And being as we're only doing a two-wheeled vehicle, we only need two of these. So what I'm saying is, when we put these on, while the hot glue's still hot, you can adjust it a bit to try and get the centre right. So if we open that up a little bit gently, if you do it too fast they might split, but like that, that should be okay. And one for the other side. Okay, put that on there, put that on there, and then you can line them up with the markings on the CD or DVD, and if they're out of alignment, say if you reheat the hot glue, you can move them around a little bit. So I'll just hold that one in place. I will do it all the way round, but I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. Wait for that to cool down a bit. So that side is in place, and then looking along it, we can adjust the other side to get it to go straight. That looks reasonably okay. And then we can go back and finish this one. So there we go, that looks pretty straight. I'll let that cool down and I'll do the other one exactly the same. And we're not actually gluing them onto the axle. You might need to later if the plastic goes a bit soft and they start sliding, you can put extra hot glue on the outside. But at least doing it this way with small holes and then pushing that through, it's going to be a tight fit and that should grip well enough. Now we're going to glue these pieces on. These are the axle bearings, I think we could call them. This particular piece of cardboard's got this nice straight line on it on this side, so I'm going to use that to align my pencil. This is another pencil, I'll be using that one when we're finished, but I'm going to use that line so that I can line up the pencil straight when I glue it in place. So if we glue one, and then get the other one ready. Yeah, something like that. Got a little bit of slack in there anyway. I'll put a little bit more hot glue around there in a minute when that's cooled down, just to give it extra strength. Right, that's probably cooled down enough. So So we need to put this in place, but before we do that, these are the rubber bands I've got, which are quite small. So if they're going to go there somewhere, I'm going to make a little hole through here. So I'm going to put that through there. I'll put something on this side to hold it in place. Something like that, or smaller, just to stop it pulling through. And take these off here carefully. This is where we find out whether we've got the width right. Need to make sure there's a gap. Now that's a bit tight. That's a bit better. Ideally you'd have a little spacer in there, a little bit of plastic or something, to stop the wheels rubbing against the side of the bodywork. But we'll just do it like this for now. Now, as I say, we need this poked through here, and then we're going to wrap it round the back axle, just hold it over, wrap it round so it goes over itself, and then that means we can wind it up and then that it's going to try and go that way, or if we turn it the other way up, it's going to try and go that way. Now, depending on how much friction we've got here, depends on how much it drags. We could add a little tail sticking up to reduce the friction, but we'll give it a try just like this. So we'll wind it up a bit. If you wind it up too much, the wheels will spin because it's got too much power. So you either have to add weight to it so that the wheels don't spin, so they grip the ground better, or you put rubber tyres on. But the list of bits that we were given doesn't allow for rubber tyres. Ready? Okay, not much distance, but it works. So what I'm going to do now is do what I said. I'm going to add a little piece there to reduce the friction at the back. Just a bit sticking down. I found I had a map pin just there. So I'm going to use that as my friction point, or skid point to be more exact, because that's going to slide over the surface. So see if that improves things. If you're allowed to, you'd put a little peg in here to hook your rubber band onto. But again, I'm going from exactly what the instructions said. So I've limited myself. If we had a pair of wheels at the back there, it would go a lot better, because you'd have far less friction. Right, it's going to go that way, so we turn it that way up with our little friction bit on the bottom. Oh yes, went quite a bit further that time. So it really depends on what you're allowed to do here. We're using just one small rubber band and only 2 wheels, and we're doing about we're doing about 3 meters there, roughly. Longer rubber band would go further, wheels on the back would go further. A different axle. I hate using pencils, to be honest, because they're too big, so a thinner axle would go better too. Just had an idea. I've wound it up the opposite way round, and I'm going to run it this way up rather than that way up, because it's just possible the rubber band might have dragged on the floor when it dropped off. So if it's this way up, it shouldn't drag on the floor. Tiny bit further. But that's the way you do it. You just keep making changes to see what improves it and what doesn't. And we could just try it going the opposite way, pushing instead of pulling. Yeah, probably not quite as good that way up. Just to demonstrate the difference, I've just put a couple of wheels on the front, barbecue skewer. I've just pushed a hole right through the existing cardboard. I just widened it out with a pencil, so it's one of those existing holes there. That's going through now, nice free running. So if we wind this up again, and set that going. That's the difference friction makes, because the front wheels have taken away most of the friction now. Didn't quite clear the space quickly enough, but that was the full distance of my kitchen and conservatory, which is 8 meters. So adding front wheels to take away the friction of it dragging on the ground we went from about 3 meters to 8 meters easily. Still using the same single little rubber band. Well, there you go. You made it all the way to the end of another one of my videos. If you want more information, there'll be stuff down there in the video description. If you actually liked that video, you might find this one up here interesting too. And if you like both of them, you might want to subscribe over here. Thanks very much for watching. It's much appreciated.